Um, I I I'm from I am airing in from Maskwacis Nation. So technology is pretty cool. My wait, the meet okay. So a bit about myself. I've approximated about 10 years of Indigenous governance expertise, perhaps, maybe a learning curve, advising leadership, uh, First Nations boards and committees. Um, Part of my education credentials are having a executive MBA from the SFU. Um, my educational journey also started with a business admin diploma and a Bachelor of Management degree from those universities you see there. I feel like I'm action oriented, strategic thinker, entrepreneur. I'm a bit of an introvert too, so sitting alone, working, reading is kind of I really it works, it helps, and I do my best to do presentations and share some of my knowledge. But so yeah, that's a little bit about me. If you do have any questions while we're going through, please just put them in a chat. That'll after you have a slide. I'm pretty flexible too. If you I don't know if you can just join in and, hey, I got a question, let's stop. That's all cool with me too. I believe the session it's an hour. I'm assuming 45-15, and primarily a story of my experience working with a consultant as an elected leader, and then executing the strategy as the chief executive officer for the Neyaskweyahk group of companies, those years 2014 to 2020. Any questions so far? No. Okay, so economic leakage. I'm sure there's many definitions of economic leakage, but for our study, it was we tried to measure what the outflow of our citizens' expenditures were, what the outflow of our citizen expenditures were, based on their household goods, and other communities. So and what our plan was, or what we hope to do, or what the data helped to do, was just develop a roadmap to the desired businesses that would result in. So so that's, oh man, I'm bombing this right now. Hold on, let me get back on track here. So the definition for economic leakage is the top kind of paragraph, and our plan was to reverse economic leakage, and kind of set up a strategy, perhaps per se, for our business development. Well, actually, we didn't at the time. I didn't know where it would go. I didn't know I was going to become CEO of the corporation, but information is power. So we definitely needed that information, and that information was readily available to anybody. And we at NGCI was able to take it and use it a little bit. So I'm gathering from your 60 million reasons to reverse economic leakage. I'm guessing you figured it out. It was, the reasons are dollars. And from our study, we rounded up, but 60 million economic leakage was identified at $60 million. Investing in neighboring economies, And from our study, that was considered reversible. Oh, you got something on it. Our people, so when we we got the study table, I really hammered back the number of 60 million reasons, and I really started thinking about that number. It's like, wow, I found myself going to the neighboring municipality, the neighboring town, and spending my money. So when you think a little bit about that more, there's you're supporting somebody else's job security and sustainability. You're supporting, they're most likely an entrepreneur. So we are helping an off reserve or non-citizen, non-nation citizen, and building up their nation, their wealth and business experience, and we're also supporting municipal and tax revenue. So it's a pretty large number and some really great reasons an opportunity to reverse it. And from our study, it was considered reversible. Questions yet? Okay. All right. So, as I said in the project description, I, briefly share, this is a 10-year experience. This is so, it's hard to kind of compound or zip file in a 1 hour presentation, but I do hope that you here listening get some ideas to put together some plans, and maybe some encouragement that sometimes those plans might sit for days, or sorry, not days, years, and they might not go nowhere. But it's really important to get the information, to get the data, to get the to get the data so that your leadership or whoever making the decisions can make a decision and step by step, because they're, even though right from start, from 2011 to 2020, it's there's been a lot of difficult meetings, arguments, lots of painful decisions, ups and downs. But when we look at where we are and where we were, it was worth it. So it all starts with good planning and making good decisions, or making a decision. The indecision is where things go wrong. So the project methodology, just briefly, was that our interview process with key leadership team to develop a survey. So I had partnered with other First Nations leaders, and there was a team of like 4 of us, council, and we did a RFP for somebody to help us develop this the proposal. And we developed an RFP to source proposals, and from then, of course, what happened was the interview process. We kind of developed a scope for the survey questionnaire, and our consultant hired a team of surveyors who went out into the community, and really it was just a simple process, but the questions really had to be focused and detailed enough. And that's where a lot of the work went into, is creating a detailed enough survey that is going to capture the right information that we're needing. And as much as we got 306 surveys, it was over a 2-day period, and or was it, maybe it was about a week long, again, it's 2 years ago. And So, their strategy was to just be located at high traffic locations and get the survey. Again, high level stuff. So I'm seeing no questions yet, but okay, that's all good. So again, I'm just going right into the meat and potatoes of our data, which was it almost kind of seems, almost seems simple, but our people. Oh, I'm gonna admit this person. Hello, Harold. Thanks for joining. You're late. Just kidding. Um, anyways, so the data that we organized was broken up into percentages, and so you saw how, the amount of money uh, that was being spent off reserve on grocery, on clothing, on these different types of expenses. And it was really, really interesting to kind of think about, man, it's like, I guess I probably spent a lot of at the McDonald's. I don't go to McDonald's a lot, but when I was younger, I probably went to McDonald's there anyway, spending some money there. Um, entertainment, when you look at the information, it's like, and you think about 60 million, there is opportunities. Um, the other data that we looked at was, where are people going for this information? Again, let's go back here. It's like, where are we going? They're going for 40% of our people, 48% go to a task. 40% of our people go to a task one to do the majority of this. And our nearest municipality was about well, it's only 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes away. And so, the 27% go into the other municipality, yeah. At 27%, Edmonton, Red Deer, take that extra bit of a drive, other location and online. So, it paints an interesting picture of of where of where we where our people are spending. Any questions yet? Not yet? Okay. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of going right into the summaries, but our research that we gathered was from our people, kind of established a possible vision for our for Maskwacis. Residents shop at Maskwacis for the residents shop at, oh yeah, so the vision was that our respondents would like to see to shop locally for the most frequently purchased goods. Our residents would want to be employed locally, owned by the First Nation, or by Indigenous entrepreneurs. They recognize they were spending their money in supporting off-reserve businesses and economies. And then again, just going back to what I'm preaching, so to speak, is that it really gave us 60 million reasons to reverse economic leakage so that we could create sustainable jobs and support Indigenous entrepreneurs. It's again, back when I was on council, we tabled a report that here's an amount that any of the First Nations in our community, and sorry, you might not know much about Maskwacis, but I should briefly share it, is we're located in central Alberta, and there is a 4 nations located side by side by side, and our population roughly is about 15,000 combined. And the nearest municipalities, Wetaskiwin and Ponoka, probably have about 10,000 of people each. So the catchment area that we're talking about potentially is what did I say, like 35,000, let's say 50,000 people, could be even upwards to 60,000 people. So that's understanding your demographic of your, I guess, the purchasing power of your people, your median income or your disposable income. I know it's hard to measure in our First Nations, on the reserve, but just trying to get a grasp or an understanding of their dollars and where they're spending it. Like I said, the residents had really understood that they were supporting non-Indigenous businesses. So I mean, there was a big opportunity for us. That was the main point. Any questions? Okay. We added another element to the leakage study, which was what are your other ideas for to strengthen our community. I chose this image because it was a BC Links to Learning, and I think most of the people here are from BC. This is a story. This is a picture of how the raven stole the light, and I'm just gonna assume a lot of our BC brothers and sisters are familiar with that story. And in the executive MBA at SFU, we read a story of or in our management class, we read up on how the raven stole the light, and did a story of what that means and how that connects to Indigenous culture and business. And when I read that story and did that program in that class, I really appreciated the message. It was about I really believe it was about leadership. I believed it was about different, how people are different ideas, and different leadership styles, and how the chief had managed to work with Raven, who was kind of like a trickster, so to speak, but was able to help him use his strengths to steal the light. And the light was important for their people. And it was, and when I think about 60 million reasons to reverse economic leakage, I think, hey, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take back our light, take back our power. And that's, so we look in our reserve and we want a recreational complex, or we see other nations with hotels and casinos or trade schools, or hey, we want that. You know what? Maybe we don't have it today, and maybe I'm not the one to help facilitate it, but maybe one day that there is gonna be a raven-like being in our community who is going to help take the light and bring it back and strengthen our community. And that is, I really like that story. And, I try to connect it with some of my stories of, an Indigenous business, thinking about how we look at our culture and neighbors culture, our brothers and sisters in BC, they have this beautiful story. And I looked at what's our Cree stories and how do we connect that and look at building up our own, creation stories or epistemology stories and connect it to business or today, right now. Anyways, I thought I would share that with you. But this is sort of what we were hearing is like we would like to see these things in our community. Time's going by pretty fast. You guys have any questions yet?
Hey, Sam, there's some questions or comments in the chat bar.
Oh, great. Hold on. I'm going to take a quick look. Oh, chat. There is chat. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. With email poster maybe, perhaps. Harold Aljam. Leakage is really evident when communities were handing out food hampers due to COVID, and this could be provided by your local corner stores on reserve. Yes, exactly. You know what I'll do is maybe just wait till the end of the presentation. I'm glad you guys are using the chat. Sorry, I didn't know that. But keep posting questions. So we're gonna have I had hoped to have 45 minutes. We might have a little more time. I forgot to mention about this story, this picture here, the fur trade. And it's not only, I forget how I wanted to connect that, but when I look at this picture, we hear about stories of, we don't talk enough about the fur trade, but I think the fur trade is underlooked right now, because back in those years when the fur trade was at its most, at its peak, the biggest company in the world at the time, Hudson's Bay, was, I like to say, is like the Apple of today, or Amazon now, right? So like Jeff Bezos is getting pretty big, or Tesla. These guys, whoever owned Hudson's Bay was like those guys. But it was really about, I felt like it was about the manufacturing capability, manufacturing. If you look at manufacturing of those hides, that was by our indigenous people, and their work ethic, and there's so much, there's such a story of the economy that we were a part of, the global economy back then during the fur trade, where indigenous peoples were driving it. And I like to try to communicate that story. Not the total destruction of the buffalo or the beaver, but the idea that, sure, there are lots of, kind of argue it a bit, but I think there's also the thought that if there was a better balance, or we could have, we were a great part of the GDP of the global economy at that time. So just saying that's what we have been. If you look back, if you believe in, if you know your history, you know our future. Well, if our history is being one of the major players in the global economy, then that's where we're going, and I believe that's where we will be. So that was sort of the leakage study, and you get a report, or you get a plan, you table it, you never know if it's going to go anywhere. It's hard to get people together to decide, right? It's like, yeah, I like that. Or chief and council gonna have to say, yes, let's do it. And then the elections and all that kind of stuff. And, again, that story of how the Raven stole the light, it's leadership, abusing the ability of your people to do something amazing. And just think of that story when when we run into run into barriers or adversity. So for us, what we had was an opportunity to balance the roles of business and politics. And essentially it was, I'll call it separating, but separating is, it's a really strong word. And I think it's we gotta really understand the correct terminology when we're talking about separating or balancing. There's a word there that I haven't figured out yet, but it's about how your leadership, your chief and council work with your economic development or your managers or directors and try to advance strategy or decisions, right? For us, we in our back home, we were able to, we'll call, balance the roles of business and politics by where leadership was adjust their roles and focus on long-term strategies that build a bright future for the nation. I'll read from the slide here and then I'll kind of elaborate. Leadership steps back and empowers the governance of the nation's business development by a board of directors. So, again, it's when it sounds easy, and it really isn't. When leadership made the decision to step back and empower the board of directors, it was a power struggle. It's like a war. And it's that decision for the leadership to kind of give up, or I'll say surrender, was not easy. It was I was in that meeting, and it was probably one of the most tense meetings I have ever been in. And it's definitely transformation is not easy, but I believe the leadership back then, and I was on it, made a decision for the betterment of the future. And 10 years later, you look back and at that meeting, at that moment, and think, did we make a good decision? And I would say yes. Was it absolutely hard, terrible? Yes. And but there's when you think about trying to make a decision that's gonna last, that's gonna when you're making a decision that's going to that you hope will sustain election cycles, right? Because the next council could come in and just say, nah, this is done, we're not liking this. We're doing something different. And we were lucky enough to have some quick results, quick wins. Definitely hard discussions, but once you start getting some good reports, you're seeing the benefit, then your leadership starts getting involved, being involved and trusting, and building that trust with the chief and council over that 5 years was my job, and our board's job. And then we were able to do it. And balancing it was it's a whole other story. Like I said, it's lots of good stories in my experience, and I'm just trying to keep within my time frame here. So like I said, it all sounds good, but it's the transformation is not easy. So let me see. So this slide here just kind of gives you a high level idea of what our strategy and organizational culture. I kind of shared with you a little bit. We back home, we had a great mentor, and that's really important if you want to advance your your plan or your strategies is that, building up trust with your leadership or decision makers. And how you do that is you have experts or capacity, and ideally the experts and capacity come from within the nation. And part of our strategy was to build up capacity in the nation. So our whole corporation, the corporation that we built that separated business and politics, is made up of Ermineskin band members. And we wanted to hire the I like to say the best business minds in our community. And I wasn't saying I am one, but I was lucky enough to have a degree in business at the time. So I was lucky enough to be a part of the team and be a part of leadership, being mentored by a board of directors who were experienced in business, experienced in change management, and experienced in finance. And when you have that type of person, which I want to be, which I think I am now. Oh, no, I'm like a junior, I guess, but 10 years of experience in this realm, you want to be able to empower that young guy, that young person who needs some advice, who needs some advice through a difficult moment. So all the experience that I was going through, I had a mentor that was able to kind of provide that sound, that peaceful advice to say, you can keep going, or you're doing well, or what, here, just do it this way. So part of our strategy was to really build up capacity within the company, and make sure it was Ermineskin band members. Of course, our mentorship was from outside, and we hired, like I said, experts in business, and they were the ones who came along our board. And then now we're reporting back to the chief and council, job creation, business core revitalization, how much economic leakage we're capturing, etc. So, that all, goes back to the mission, values, strategic plan, followed by operations plan and targets. But my main goal was self-sustaining, viable businesses. And if any of you are in business, First Nations business, failure is not an option. So, it's like business starts failing, well, you got to get them. Business is market driven, right? You need if you're selling widgets, you need to be able to market widgets, or you need the capacity within the organization. So that's part of your strategy and organizational culture, and what I was able to be a part of. I read this book. Are you guys readers? Like reading? Well, I love reading. Anyways, this really speaks to me, this quote by John. I don't even know how to say his last name. It's Dewar. And John Dewar was he's a co-founder of Google, and he was one of the early adopters in investing. What a great place to be in. One day, anyways, that's such a but he said ideas are easy and execution is everything. And that really is, it just goes back to that idea of building your plan, your economic leakage strategy, or the economic leakage study. It's like that piece of paper, that document is a study of great information, but they're essentially ideas. They're data, but they're ideas, and taking information and executing strategy. Executing, like, that's where capacity is needed. That's where your energy is needed. And I just wish I can explain more. I should maybe do a presentation on execution, something along those lines, but implementing or something like how to implement. But again, it's really driven into your people, finding the right person with the core drive. Like I always kind of think about people who are entrepreneurial driven and they think innovatively, think outside the box, willing to try things, willing to, because like I said, willing to fail a little bit. You almost have to fail to win. It's weird, but it really is true. And so I think it's finding those key pieces in your organization is going to help in your business development or whatever strategy it is that you're working on. So this was part of our organizational culture. But other piece to that was, we were governed well, or our governance structure was in place. We had ISO 9001 2015 certified. It's really processing or setting up good processes for our business development. It was the idea of 9001 2015 certification was that, if you write it down and you follow this process, you should get this result. And and certifying business development process is not is seems is essentially what we did. And what it also means is that when I leave, the process is there, and if the next person leaves, that process is there, and the next person leaves, that process is there. It's like, well, how do we do business development? Like, what do we do? Well, you need to have a standardized process, because like I said, I was on council before, and all of a sudden we have this multinational business guy coming in and saying, oh, hey, I'll just say he's selling snake oil, selling snake oil. And, it's like, oh man, buy this and we'll make this. And you got a elected council, and sometimes, people on council, they got great hearts, but their background might be, let's say social development or education. And you have a business guy, kind of really great marketing. And I just couldn't comprehend how we did business. So what I mean is our ISO certification was able to just standardize how we vetted business ideas. So now anybody can bring us an idea. We can have an idea today. But what the process is how we take that idea and get it to, like you said, execution, get it to making money. So that's kind of what I was getting at. Part of it, the other piece is your corporate governance standards, just knowing your role, knowing your authority, financial management policies, making sure you have checks and balances. You don't want to make sure there's not fraud happening. You don't want to mitigate that. That's not good. And then, of course, quarterly reporting and board. In our case, we had board working committees, so we all contributed, and every decision was data driven. So if we were going into business with something, the data supported it. Anyways. And we're wrapping into one of the final slides, but in the 5 years that I was there, we again, we took that economic leakage study, and it said, what are some of the areas where people are spending their money? So we were able to take from 4 companies and build 12, I mean, well, 8 through startups, acquisitions, and JVs. But that information was taken from our leakage study. So, I mean, the grocery store story is a whole other one. We try to, it's a local grocery store on the reserve. Not on the reserve, actually, just outside the reserve. And we did the valuation, we did everything we were supposed to do, and we had the money to buy it. And we're at negotiating, and the darn business owner, who non-nation member, didn't want to sell, and he's still there. But I'm just saying that information was taken from our economic leakage study. And we were looking at creating businesses where our people could spend their money. We reported back to the leadership that, we're creating jobs, and our budget this year for job creation is 1.5, and we continue adding jobs every business opportunity we create. Our investment measured in business core revitalization, because we had one of our gas bars, and I bet you every one of your First Nation, I'll guess maybe your First Nation has a gas bar, and it may even be run by non-native businessmen. We're leasing it. It seems to be so common. But anyway, so that was happening to us back then. And we took it over. We renovated it. We put a brand name on it, hired our people, measured job creation. And then all of a sudden we were informed by our partner, gas distributor, whoever, that our gas bar was growing and continues to grow, and was the #1 fuel station in our region. So, it was, just stories like that. It was like, you have an asset, and we took that asset and we turned it into a asset producing in favor of the nation. So, and you start looking at the existing assets around in the community, take control of them, and make them asset producing in favor of the nation. So that's what we did. So we really invested in the business core, renovating, providing business storefront, business setups. Again, capacity development measured at 250,000. I mean, could be more, but we're investing in our front line, we're investing in our management, and those educational investments, or that investment in their learning and their job ability, that pays exponentially. They're able to do their job better. They're transferable skills, they're going to go somewhere else, but it's building up our own people, our people who could, brothers and sisters and cousin uncles and all those people. Now they're, if they want to work off reserve, for sure, that's good news. So then we can keep, help building up the capacity of our people. And that was what we were reporting back to our leadership and the citizens. Then we were measuring economic leakage, and I put the number at 16 million. But from there, what I was saying is, capturing economic leakage, by the time I left, I'll say zero to 16 million in revenues, right? So, each of those businesses, when you consolidate the amount of revenues that the company was making, that was, to me, capturing or reversing economic leakage. So no, I didn't do a really good ending on my slides, but I think the piece that that kind of could help is that, you know, we are reporting back to the community was this, you know, job creation, investment in our business core, capacity development, and economic leakage. Taking that information we had from the economic leakage study and then executing a strategy. Now, again, it's a 10-year journey, and I'm just thankful to be a part of it and being able to share it with you. And I really hope that you know, you might be inspired a little bit, or you know, hopefully you got some gems. And you know, if you have any questions or for me, or if you wanted to reach out and chat sometime, or you want to hire me, just feel free to reach out. I'm open for questions unless you want to just go through the chat ones.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Sam, for that great presentation. We do have comments, and we'll start with Harold's. It says leakage is really evident when communities were handing out food hampers. Yes, we read that one. Angela, Ken, it's called Cycle of Life by Richard Shorty. She was referring to Ken's earlier comment. And he indicated, do we have initiatives, or sorry, do the initiatives need to be scaled to serve much more than just the individual community to make them viable?
Okay, do initiatives need to be scaled to serve much more than just the individual community to make them viable? Wait, I had to try and understand that. Ken, can you kind of help me with that?
Yeah, my comment was just that you need to serve, as you illustrated on the grocery store or the gas bar, you have to serve a larger community, I believe, than just your immediate community to make it viable and to make it profitable.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, you know, a part of that I missed out on this is that, you know, when we, you know, when I was sharing with neighboring municipalities that, hey, we're spending $60 million in your community, we're gonna take that back, right? And it doesn't sound like a good. I don't know. I kind of felt like that might be construed negatively. So, you know, I really went to work in developing relationships with neighboring municipalities through the Chamber of Commerce's, and saying that we need to work together and talk about a catchment area. And we'd like to see more people coming to our community.
Sorry.
That's all good. But yes, it wasn't just our own people, but it's also trying to serve that bigger catchment area that I was sharing with earlier.
Great. And the next comment is from Harold. To build trust between each other and to invest in projects not in your community, as not all communities are large enough. And location really makes a difference.
Yes. You know what? And yeah, I get that location is challenging. But you know, business is everywhere. So I mean, if you're in you know, if you know, what I found most exciting about the business that I was involved in is partnerships and acquisitions. You know, the startups are one of the hardest businesses to get off the ground and to generate self-sustaining. But when you look at a partnership or an acquisition, I think there's huge opportunities there. You're already developing, there's already capacity.
Sure.
There's already revenues, and there's systems and processes that you know what, if your community doesn't have a great location, buy one in the nearest location, buy the biggest one, own it, and or partner with it. That'd be my advice.
Next comments from Ken. In Ontario, we have the Indigenous organization called Grand River Enterprises that are immensely profitable. So it can be done if the will is strong. Timing is now if you want to have products and services that the federal government that can use.
Yeah, I would agree. That's all good.
Harold's comment, bands and individuals would have difficulty putting money together to provide quantity needed.
Capital is challenging. I think if that was your question, Harold, capital. And you know, one of my other sessions, and maybe I could do that another time, Elizabeth and Danielle, is which was, I forget what it was called, something about capital, but you know, I go through the different programs that the federal government offers. The one being the Corp Major projects and how we've used that process to kind of get much needed capital. And that's what I'm saying, Harold. It's about, if you want to, if you're having trouble with capital, you know, the grant capital program that the federal government has, access it and buy a business. And if you need help, just hire me. I better stop doing that.
We have Harold's last comment here. Toured in Oklahoma and Indian groups are manufacturing military products, millions and millions of dollar contracts. Just amazing. Can we get a copy of your leakage study? And that I can definitely provide to you, Harold. I can provide this to everyone in a follow-up email.
You mean the PowerPoint?
PowerPoint.
Yeah, the leakage study, I don't have ownership of it. But so I'm sorry, I don't think I can. It's not mine. I mean, if they posted it on the website, then yes, but I can't say that I can just do that.
Okay.
Sorry, Harold.
Yeah.
You can hire me, I can build you one. Just kidding.
It's Ken here. I've got a comment. It's building on what Harold said about distributorship. The poster with the cycle of life with the bear brought to mind. Canada Post uses dog spray, pepper spray, for and it's used for bears and for dogs. But just the thought came to mind was nobody cans bear spray or dog spray in Canada. So if you what Harold was saying was distributorship. You don't need a lot of money to set up a distributorship where what you're doing is you're distributing for big name companies in the United States, and they will ship direct. So you don't even need inventory. You can have a few samples in your location, but if you set up a distributorship, basically all you're doing is you're supplying, for example, the bear spray. I mean, just look around in your own community. What are you using that comes from outside of Canada? Well, if somebody inside of Canada is distributing it, maybe you can go to that supplier or other similar suppliers and get distributorship and sell to the, for example, sorry to belabor pepper spray, but border services, the police departments across Canada all use mace and pepper spray. So it's just not just bears and dogs, but police departments, parks workers across the cities across Canada all use pepper spray. So I hate to belabor that item, but nobody in Canada is canning it. Look into distributorship, and I know that there are distributors out there that would love to have another distributor, because what happens sometimes is a certain distributor locks in a certain price and never wants to milks the product and never wants to move off that price. But if you can find a that's just one example. But if you just do distributorship, and that distributorship, like Harold said, you don't need a lot of money to set up a distributorship. And the federal government, Parks and Recreation all across Canada use pepper spray. That was just an example that came to mind when I saw the bear. So lots of opportunities out there.
I got a comment before we close here. This is Harold Algem from Merritt, British Columbia. When the bands that seem to be really successful, getting a lot of businesses in their community or around their community, to understand that they don't own it 100% always, that they have investors and things like that. If you could prove a stable council and a good economic development department, that you could put these things together and to understand, maybe in 50 years they own the whole thing, but they have these great agreements that they can work together. And so, let you know how well your federal government employees know you. We had a meeting with them, and they didn't know where we were, but the only thing he commented was, how come you cannot be like Osuyas band or West Bank band? And I said, well, for us, location is a really big thing. We're not where a major highway goes past us, but doesn't go through our reserves. Thanks.
If you need any help, Harold, if you ever wanted to just chat, just feel free to reach out. I can, I always find that having advisors or, just bouncing ideas off of someone, it really helps. And, I think some of the questions that you have, I'd like to kind of listen to. But, again, I just want to appreciate everybody here that came out and listened. I hope you got some gems. And, in Cree, we call, we say, kame mo, which means, perseverance, keep up the good fight and, set your sights on the horizon and in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you
Great.
all for participating today. Do we have any last comments for Sam?
Just as a suggestion, and again, this is just maybe it's late at night here in Ontario, or getting later. Maybe the mind is going wild, but you can set up an ad hoc innovation committee for Indigenous services, and it could be you set up a time once a month. People come in, bring ideas, and people will brainstorm. We all come from different backgrounds. But we obviously we wouldn't be here if we didn't have Indigenous as an interest to contribute. So we all have our own links and connections. If you set up an ad hoc committee, ask for volunteers, and then just circulate, once a month, get together, brainstorm, and throw ideas around. Everybody can throw stuff out, and people can pick it up as they like. But if you set something up, if you build it, they will come.
For sure.
But it's if you start something, it's a good place to go. I mean, I hate to harp on Grand River Enterprises, but those guys are just, they go nuts. They just they bought Canadian gypsum. They're just unbelievable. They just every time they turn around, they're buying something, and it's a totally Indigenous organization. So my suggestion, if somebody's got the initiative, I'm not going to be the one to set it up, but you set up an ad hoc brainstorming or innovative ad hoc committee, and ask for volunteers, and you get a number of communities to get people to volunteer, and we can all chip in, and we can all from many hands make the work light. So if everybody does a little bit, the few don't have to do so much. So, and we can all, if we have an interest and we want to contribute, we can all chip in our own way.
Great. Well, thank you for that comment and feedback. And thank you all for attending today. Just to note, we host these Innovate BC webinars every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And you are all welcome to join us next week as we have Chief Willie Sellers from Williams Lake First Nation talking about cannabis. They're the First Nation leading in cannabis retail in British Columbia. So with that, I hope you all have a great
Gotta go. Thanks.
rest of your day and take care.